I'm Aaron Burrell, and this is Diana Canizero, and we're here. You're happy with us as we take on SHU Sports Report number 4. Diana, let's start with an update on the football team who pulled off a big win this weekend.
Yep, that is right, Aaron. It was a huge victory for Sacred Heart football, who managed to beat a ranked team on Saturday night. The Sacred Heart football team traveled to Laval Stadium in New York this past weekend to take on the Stony Brook Seawolves. SHU scored 31 unanswered points to take the victory on the road. Quarterback R.J. Noel got the first 7 points on the board with a 1-yard run early in the first quarter. He was 20 for 28 and passing for 205 yards with a touchdown while rushing for 2 scores throughout the game. Stony Brook then answered back in the first quarter with a 3-yard touchdown run to tie the game. Before the half, the Seawolves went up 10-7 by kicking a field goal. But less than a minute before halftime, Sacred Heart was able to capitalize on Stony Brook's fumble. Ryan Cottrell got the recovery and ran down to the 50-yard line, leading to Alec Finney securing a 33-yard field goal to tie the game 10-10 going into the half. From there on out, the Sacred Heart defense stayed fired up once again. For the 5th consecutive game this season, Sacred Heart holding their opponent scoreless in the second half. Linebacker Kevin Barry led SHU once again with 9 tackles, including 2 for a loss, half a sack, and a 44-yard pick six. The game was history for Stony Brook long before the end of the second half. The Pioneers scored 14 points in the third and then again in the fourth quarter with Barry's pick six sealing the win on the road at 38-10. Sacred Heart will travel to Wagner College to open up conference play this Saturday at 6 p.m. only on ESPN. Well, while football was away, the women's rugby team dominated Castleton here at home, Aaron. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about their shutout victory?
Absolutely. Women's rugby impressed this past weekend with a huge win on our very own campus field. The women's rugby team picked up their second win of the season when they dominated Castleton 56-0 this past weekend. The Pios shut out the Spartans in the first half following strong offensive play. Castleton's defense would struggle to contain SHU, as SHU would rack up 29 consecutive points with tries from Samantha King, Emily McNoney, Charlotte Tailman, who had 2, and Sarah Rosdovic. In the second half, the Spartans were still struggling offensively, and SHU didn't let off the gas, scoring 27 more points to end the game. The Pios are back in action on Campus Field when they take on Westchester Golden Rams on October 8th at 12 p.m. Now let's jump into the update corner where Kara can recap the week for our other Pioneer teams.
Thanks, Aaron. The women's volleyball team had a huge weekend, defeating both St. Francis Brooklyn and LIU Brooklyn. On Saturday, they would come out with their first win for NEC play against St. Francis Brooklyn. After a slow start, Allison Riggs righted the ship and closed the point gap. Unfortunately, they would lose the first set, but they would win the next 3, securing a victory. Michaela Dole stood out in this match for Pioneers, tallying 14 kills, 1 ace, 16 digs, and 1 block assist. On Sunday, the Pioneers impressively defeated the Blackbirds of LIU in 4 sets. The last time this team defeated LIU was in 2011. This time, it was Sarah Krufka who led the team with 18 kills, 4 digs, 1 block assist, and a kill percentage of 31.6%. Finally, on Tuesday, the streak continued with the Pioneers sweeping Stony Brook in 3 sets. The defense was strong with Sarah Krufka having 10 kills, a kill percentage of 50%, and 5 block assists. Michaela Dole would also have 10 kills with 17 digs, 1 solo block, and 1 block assist. They will be back home on Saturday to take on St. Francis U at 2 p.m. Men's soccer started off this week, hosting Holy Cross, utilizing a strong offense attack, and winning 3-1. Amir Salaj would score the first goal in 29th minute of the first half by an assist by Dylan Santos. Holy Cross would score a goal, causing the 2 teams to go into the halftime tied 1-1. Shaquille Shantes scored the final 2 goals of the game and is now leading the NEC in goals of 5. Saturday's match was tougher, with the Pioneers ending the game tied with Stony Brook after double overtime. Kieran Walsh scored Sacred Heart's only goal, but the Seawolves moved fast and found the net soon afterward. Robert Strain would make several saves during the second overtime to preserve the tie, but neither team could find a way to score, and the match remained at 1-1. They finished out the week on Tuesday when they fell to Army 1-0 in the last game before conference play. The Pioneers had many scoring opportunities, but they just could not execute, while Army had slightly better luck when Rex Epps shot it from 25 yards out in the 11th minute. They will begin conference play this Friday, October 7th, when they take on St. Francis Brooklyn at 3 p.m. Men's cross country run for the second consecutive year at the Fairfield University Victor F. Lieber Invitational. Finishing with 22 points, they beat hometown rival by 38 points. This is the 5th time in program history the men have won this meet. Connor Rogg took home his 2nd individual title this season, finishing first with 25 minutes and 25 seconds. He is the 7th individual winner for the meet for SHU, coming in 30 seconds faster than last year's individual champion, Sean Ferguson, who ran at 26:27. The women would also win the meet sweeping spots 1 through 5 and finishing with 15 points. They would beat Fairfield by 40 points. This was a 2nd consecutive shutout win at the same meet, a victory they managed to accomplish last year as well. Freshman Jody Dichko would be the winner with the time of 19 minutes and 52 seconds. She is the 13th individual winner for SHU. Cross country will continue their season on Saturday, October 8th at the 104th Annual New England Cross Country Championships at Franklin Park in Boston, Massachusetts. The field hockey team suffered a heartbreaking loss to Temple in overtime Sunday afternoon. Late in the second half, with Owls up 2-1, Christina Godhold found the back of the goal to even the score with less than 4 minutes in remaining regulation. These teams were evenly matched during the overtime, but with 47 seconds left on the clock, Temple's Rachel Mueller launched the game-winning ball from the middle of the circle. SHU's field hockey team will return to Johnson Field next Sunday, October 2nd, to host UMass Lowell at noon. The women's golf team had a new team record this weekend, finishing the final round with a record low score of 295, allowing them a tie for 3rd at the Dartmouth Invitational at Hanover Country Club. After finishing round 1 with a team score of 316, the Pioneers were able to bounce back and move up 3 spots to the tie for 3rd. Sophomore Chelsea Sedler made a comeback ending to the tournament +5, even with the par at 72. She tied for 5th overall. The Pioneers head into a bye week before heading to the Quinnipiac Classic at New Haven Country Club on October 10th and 11th.
Thanks, Kara. Later, we'll take an early look at wrestling as we host head coach Andy Lozier, who took on 1,116 miles as he biked to the site of the 2017 NCAA Wrestling Championships. For now, we'll take a deeper look into women's soccer. The SHU women's soccer team was on the road last Wednesday, where they tied Brown 0-0. The Pios outshot Brown on the day 7-5, but were unable to find the back of the net, and in goal, sophomore Nicole Sambuco made 5 saves to keep the clean sheet. A few days later on Saturday, they were back in action at home, where they beat Delaware State 2-0 to move to 3-4-3 on the year. Sophomore Alex Mazropian scored both goals for the Pios in the win. She scored her first right before halftime when her header went in off a ball that was played by Melanie Da Silva. Her second came when she stole the ball before Delaware State were able to clear their lines and scored from 15 yards out. The women's team was rewarded for their weekly efforts by collecting 3 NEC Weekly Awards, with Mazropian winning Player of the Week, Sambuco winning Defensive Player of the Week, and Crema winning Rookie of the Week. They'll be back in action on Sunday when they welcome Robert Morris to Campus Field at 12. Now, let me direct you to Kara in the Coach's Corner, where we are hosting Coach Andy Lozier, who's just returned to SHU after spinning to St. Louis, Missouri. Kara?
Thanks, Aaron. Thank you, Coach, for being here today. Can you start off by telling us how you came about cycling to St. Louis and why you chose to do it this year?
Sure. As the head coach of Sacred Heart University Wrestling, one of my primary functions is to improve the financial state of our program. So last year we came up with an idea called the March to Madison Square Garden, where we ran 60 miles from the campus of Sacred Heart University to Madison Square Garden, which was the host site of the NCAA Championships. It was kind of a seed idea that turned into a great campaign in which we raised about $20,000 for our program. And so I realized that we could improve on what we did last year. We could make it bigger, better, and more impactful for Sacred Heart Wrestling. And coincidentally, the NCAA Championships this year are a little bit farther away. They're in St. Louis. So I decided to ride my bike from Sacred Heart University 1,100 miles to the host site of the 2017 NCAA Championships, the Scott Trade Center.
Yeah, that's great. It's, better than running, I'd say, on that one, since it's a little farther away.
Absolutely.
What were your planning stages like, your ride partners, how you planned the route? Were you nervous at all about how that was going about?
Yeah, so basically the way I've explained it to people is for the past 12 months I've carried 2 full-time jobs, one of which is being the head wrestling coach for this program, and then the second one was really building out this campaign. And the planning and preparation stages, especially developing the route, took months and months of work. I did that all on my own before I even ever shared this idea with anyone. And so the first person I asked was my wife if she would be okay if I did this. And then I went and presented this to the senior administration in athletics to get their support. And they were enthusiastic about the idea. So it was a long planning process, but that diligence paid off because the 7-day journey went relatively smoothly.
Oh, great. So your team was stationed right in front of campus, riding the stationary bike along with you. What kind of motivation did that provide for you?
It was awesome. One of the things that we missed out on last year was really integrating the team. They met us in Central Park, and when I say us, Coach Moore and myself, we ran together side by side. So the team met us in Central Park and finished off the final 4 miles of the run with us last year. And really the primary goal this year was to make it more of an integrated team effort. And so knowing that they were pulling 1-hour relay shifts 24 hours around the clock was something that really empowered me during some of the dark moments of the ride, especially later in the journey. And I think coming back and seeing them yesterday, I've witnessed something really special happen to the team in terms of their bond and camaraderie. I don't think you can recreate something like that in which they went through together for the last 7 days, really on their own. I wasn't here to facilitate that, so they had to take incredible ownership.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, they were riding along with you, kind of like they're in spirit, all in your head. You knew they were there. How did it feel when you finally made it to the end and you got to travel back in car?
The last day was interesting. I really wanted to enjoy the final day. It had been so much work to get there. However, the last day was a big day. It was a 175-mile ride, which is not easy. You're going to face some dark moments during that ride. Unfortunately, the dark moments came pretty often that day, and I was faced with a headwind, which is kind of a cyclist's worst nightmare. And so when I finally got to St. Louis, there was definitely a sense of relief, but to be honest with you, I was a little bit sad that it was all over. This has been such a big part of my life for the past 12 months, and for it to kind of be finalized, there was a little feeling of sadness that it was all over. But I think that's representative of how much I've enjoyed this process. In terms of riding in a car, I didn't go in a car for 7 days, so it was kind of weird to get in the passenger seat of a car. Coach Moore was kind enough to drive back, although that also comes along with some anxiety when he's behind the steering wheel.
Exactly. Well, congratulations. That's an amazing. Not that many people can say that they did what you did. And finally, what does this mean to your program as a whole?
I think what it does is really establishes a sense of legitimacy for the commitment of our student athletes. I think this is somewhat of a disruptive idea. I haven't seen anything like this done on any other campus in any other sport across the country. And what I found is that the campus community really started to rally behind our student athletes, saying this is really cool what you guys are doing. And I think people really start to respect the commitment that they have for rebuilding Sacred Heart University Wrestling.
Yeah, that's great. Well, thank you again and congratulations. Wrestling season is just a few weeks away. Be sure to check them out on November 11th when they face Drexel here at home. Pioneer fans, once again, thank you for joining us. I am Cara Levine. On behalf of myself, Diana Canizero, and Aaron Burrell, this has been another SHU Sports Report episode. We'll hope to see you next week.